Hey, it's Chip, and we're here back on the mat. So I'm super excited. We're in episode number 7. I have a question in from Mr. Joseph Lanning. Mr. Joseph Lanning. He sent me in a question and he said, I've seen some breaking competitions where the actual breaker, the board breaker, is docked points because they're not breaking their material, but it's the holders, not necessarily the breaker. And there are a lot of ways to look at that. But you know, there's something that I actually appreciate about this, Joseph, Mr. Joseph, is that you actually recognize that, because I was just at a major tournament this past weekend and watched boards being held incorrectly, and it's so difficult, especially with kids, when you see a kid struggling to break and you know the holder is being kind of a sponge. So I'm going to try to be fast, and I'm also going to tell you, it is basically impossible for me to squeeze into a couple of minutes here what I really need to convey to you about holding, board holding, about setup and all the material and the things that we need. But I'm going to do my best here to help you out. First and foremost, never, ever, ever show up at an event and ask someone you don't know to hold your material. That is an absolute last resort. Been there, done that, big boo-boo. If you followed my breaking career at all, one of the things, and I'm not at all meaning this in a prideful way, you'll hear the commentators sometimes say is, these guys are like a well-oiled machine. I absolutely hammer my team and myself, because I hold for them all the time too, about being a rock-solid board holder. It's important that you have someone that you trust on the backside of that board. And this can carry over into belt testings and having your children trying to break boards. I never pull a parent out and say, hey, hold that board. Not because they can't, but because they don't have the experience. And really, it's kind of an art. There's a lot more to it than what people realize. So what I did is I got a couple of boards here. I've got an adult board. The first thing is a lot of common sense, but the grain has to be going the right way. Holding in and of itself, I'm going to turn the board sideways. A lot of times I see people put huge amounts of hand on the back side of the board, and that's a no-no. We rotate our hand down and we put more fingers on the front than hands on the back. It's a bit of a curse for us guys with big hands, because we tend to get hit because we have a lot of finger on the front side of the board. But when we're talking in terms of competition, I'd take one for my team on the fingers and have them break the board before I would take away their leverage by covering up the back side of the board and minimizing their breaking area so that they can be successful, because it's not about me. I'm just the guy holding, helping my teammate to be a rock star at this point in time. The next thing is it's absolutely important that when you hold is that you lock those arms out. I see people hold like this all the time, and you'll have adults to kids hitting a board and they're doing this, donk, donk, and the board doesn't break because these arms are like shock absorbers on your car, absorbing the impact, not resisting it and putting the impact in the board where it needs to go. So those are just some really basic, simple things. Never pull someone out of the crowd that you don't know or trust unless it's an absolute last resort. And if so, give them a quick coaching on how to make a long, solid stance and lock their body out and feel that board and make sure they understand what you're talking about. The downside is, one quick example, I did this in a demonstration one time, went to hit the board, and they were doing great until they moved because they flinched when they saw me coming and I missed and went, oh no. So it's tough. Have a prepared team member that you trust to do the holding. The next thing is make sure we're not covering up too much of the back side of the board. Make sure we're using the correct size board. Make sure that we have the grain going the correct direction. Make sure that the holder is willing to take one for the team, because especially in a competition or testing setting, it's not about the holder, it's about the person performing at that moment. And they're the ones that's important. So holders have to be very honestly giving people. They're willing to kind of give it all up for that in that moment. I was on America's Got Talent. I did a speed break on a baseball bat. It was kind of funny and it kind of wasn't. They're interviewing me after, and by the way, all they got out of that was I break stuff, but there was more said. And one of my guys, love him to death, trust him all the way. He's held for me for years, held a baseball bat for a speed break. The top of the bat spun around and hit him in the mouth and busted his lip. And the guy interviewing us is like, hey, your buddy's hurt. I turn and look, he smiles, he got blood all in his teeth. I'm like, nah, he's good. And he's like, oh, I'm good. You know, that's just part of holding sometimes. We take a hit for our teammates to look great. What people don't realize is all these years, I'm not that good. My team is good. My team makes me look great. So great question. I hope that helps some. Anytime you ever want to know more, let me know. Reach out to me and I'll try to help you out. And remember, I travel the world doing seminars on this kind of stuff. So if you need some help, I'd be happy to help you out.